All right. Balance Awareness Week is not just making waves in primarily English-speaking countries. Thanks to our partners in France, Balance Awareness Week is also reaching patients and healthcare providers in France. The Vestibular Disorder Association recently signed an agreement with ADEV. You're going to have to pronounce this for me here in a little bit because my French is terrible. But this is a newly formed French patient advocacy organization to further our mutual goal of raising awareness of vestibular disorders and providing support to French-speaking vestibular community. The concept of ADEV, yes, we know it's Vita spelled backwards, began forming when Yanis, a vestibular patient residing in France, contacted Vita's executive director, Cynthia Ryan, asking how he could help support French-speaking vestibular patients. Yanis was inspired by Vita's Life Rebalance Chronicles docuseries, as well as Vita ambassador Johan the Chappiness Guy's podcast, Find Your Chappiness. He has also connected with Dr. Christian Charbert, founder of GDR Vertige, a vestibular research group based in France. After some collaborative brainstorming, these pioneers decided to create a vestibular patient-focused nonprofit incorporated in France. Together, Vita and ADEV are working on translating Vita's patient education resources into French. Future plans include creating a landing page on Vita's website and starting an online support group for French-speaking audiences, as well as other projects such as a French docuseries. Welcome to all of you guys. This is so exciting. It's absolutely amazing how big Vita's reach has been for this type of patient population. We couldn't be more excited that having you guys promote the same message and mission is only going to make that amplification bigger. So welcome, welcome, welcome. I'd love to have each of you introduce yourselves a little bit, give us a background on yourself and what brings you here today. And Florian, let's start with you.
Yeah. Hello, everybody. So my name is Florian COURCOUX. I'm a vestibular physiotherapist who works in Bordeaux, in France. I'm graduate in a master in physiotherapy, and I continue to study in vestibular. And during my advanced course, I have the pleasure to study with Christian Chabert, who make some course with the GDR, and that's it. I'm here to answer different questions.
That's amazing. Thank you. Yanis, what about you?
Yeah, so you already introduced me a little bit. So professionally, I'm an IT consultant, which is not on the field of vestibular or anything, but what's bring me here. So I'm a vestibular patient myself. It started 3 years ago on the 18th September 2019. So yesterday was my MDDS onset birthday. So happy birthday to me. So yeah, so that's why. And just for the short story, what happens, it's so I had really bad time, and I was on a really dark place 1 year ago. And so I gave a call to Christian Chabert because I found GDR Vertige using the internet. And then we start to talk about the way we can do something about it. So it's all started, as you said, with the Life Rebalance Chronicle that I saw on the Vida YouTube channel. And so I contacted Christian. I was just asking why there is no such a thing in French for people, because there is, not everyone is speaking English or can reach this kind of information in France. So after that, we just started, both of us together, to find people and to try to raise advocacy for French patients here in France.
That's amazing. It's vestibular dysfunction really doesn't discriminate. It really affects everybody, and it's a very large patient population that has to go through just navigating a new journey back to balance, a new life. So that's amazing that you guys have created this new mission to be able to help people in France and as well as maybe kind of give a little springboard into other countries as well, and maybe give people the idea to follow suit. Christian, what about you?
just to introduce myself, I'm a scientist. I'm a research director at the French CNRS, the French National Center for Scientific Research. And I'm leading a large research group on vestibular physiology and vestibular pathology called the GDR Vertige, Groupe de Recherche in French, Vertige. That was created in 2015. And the idea was to bring together the different professions involved in the management of the patient, and also researchers, so many ENT doctors, neurologists, the professional involved in vestibular rehabilitation, such as physiotherapists. And so now this group gathers about 50 different structures, mostly University Hospital, ENT services, and also liberal rehabilitation practitioners, and also scientists. We are only few researchers in France in this on this topic, but still we're working a lot to try to move things. And well, so the GDR is trying to stimulate the community through different activities, annual meeting, and also participation to this week. We're going to talk later. And
I think you're muted, Daniel.
Let's see if he comes back. Oh, there he is. Good. That should be okay. I think we should. What did we miss at the end of that nice bit?
Yeah, I can just finish by saying that the GDR Vertige is developing different activities to stimulate our community through different meetings, professional meetings, and also to try to raise money to promote the basic and clinical research.
It's amazing. I love so far, like having the four of you on is a perfect demonstration of how this multidisciplinary approach is so extremely important and helpful for people suffering from vestibular dysfunction. We've got our physiotherapist, we've got our patient representative, a researcher, and then we have Francois. Francois, would you mind introducing yourself?
Yes, of course. Thank you very much. So I'm an ENT physician in pediatrics. So I deal with, well, especially children in Paris at Necker Hospital. So I focus on otology. So this includes vestibular diseases. But I met Christian, especially in my research activities, because I did a PhD a few years back on vestibular diseases in a team in Paris, which with which Christian has already many ties. And so I attended the summer week of the GDR Vertige a few years ago already, when I was still a resident. And so we've been collaborating ever since, and especially in the past couple of years, where the GDR Vertige has really become something much bigger with the creation of hopefully a few research centers throughout the country.
Oh, that's amazing. So I guess we should probably talk and start our conversation today with just kind of going over ADEV's mission. Who wants to maybe start off with talking about, what the mission was to the precipice that kind of got this all started? Like, what are you guys primarily focusing on? How about, go ahead, Yanis.
Yeah, I think I can answer this question. So, I mean, our point starting ADEV, so it started in last February this year. So the goal that we try to reach is, first of all, is to communicate about those problems that you can happen in your life, because I mean, no one can be ready for that. I was not ready for that at 30 to have neurologic and vestibular disorder. It's kind of really complicated and life-changing for everyone. And the thing is, there were no resources at all in French. I mean, there is few resources, but it was mainly scientific kind of information that you can find, and so it cannot be accessed by everyone. So you needed to have like translation for that, and in French it was lacking, and that's why I started at first ADEV.
I think that's a really good point, and especially in the age of internet. When something happens to us, we immediately go over and we try to search anything we can to find as much information as possible, as the patient approach, to figure out what's going on with me and what fixes are there out there. And not having resources makes that very difficult. So it sounds that ADEV, just like Vita, is very patient focused and patient facing as far as trying to create a community and create resources for people looking to figure out what's going on with them with vestibular dysfunction.
Exactly, because as you said, like the first thing that we do now, and I did myself, is to go on the internet, and you know that you can find kind of everything on the internet. So especially when you have something wrong with your health and you don't know what's happening to you, you're just searching. I was searching all night long, and that was a nightmare. I won't lie about it. It was really, really bad time for me. And yeah, you end up, you don't know, like something wrong with you. You get to a first doctor, and I mean, he's doing some tests and stuff, and nothing goes back from the tests, and you're just lost. And then you end up searching, and maybe you have a brain tumor, maybe you have something else, and it's really complicated. So the goal was really to provide the right information, and also to bring people together. Then they can understand that's, yeah, this is their real, and this is not all in your head. And yeah, and there is also solution. There is probably, I mean, sometimes there is no cure, that's true, but solution, and you can control it, and life is not over. So that's the main point for the creation of ADEV.
Now, let me pose this question to either or both Francois or Florian. I am a physical therapist in the United States, and I really dove into Vita in the beginning of my career because I needed something to give patients for resources when they left my clinic and needed to go home and work on their exercises or figure out how to help their symptoms. Did you guys find a need for something to give patients, or what did you give patients for information on their vestibular dysfunction? Francois, why don't we start with you if you feel up for it?
Yeah, sure. So once again, in my personal field, it's mostly children. So children are even more complicated to treat because it's even less known than in adults. We, of course, have a special population where in our hospital, we're an cochlear implant center. And so we have many children who don't just have vestibular disease, but who also have hearing disabilities and are first and foremost treated for their hearing disability. And then we discover they also have vestibular disorders, and up to until a few years, vestibular exploration wasn't even done systematically for children with cochlear implants. So this is relatively new in the field of pediatric otolaryngology. And so clearly there isn't much that is being organized for the moment. There are some centers which have been experiencing this for a few years now. There's Robert Debré, which is also another university hospital in Paris, who has been working on this for a few years, but it's very new. And so we ourselves as physicians didn't have much knowledge of this, not even talking about the patients. I mean, even the people treating the patients didn't have much information about the diseases. And then, of course, we have to try and transmit this information. Another aspect of this with children especially is that they don't have the same symptoms as adults. They won't, of course, they can't express themselves as easily. They won't obviously talk about the usual turning disease that we would associate with vertigo in adults, and they could have more subtle presentations like reading disabilities or clumsiness, or things that we could just think that the child isn't concentrating properly, and we don't obviously attribute that to vestibular disease. So concerning children, it's very important to have information like this, especially because the presentation is very subtle and doesn't correspond to the stereotype of vertigo in adults. And so I did treat a few adults, especially in my residency. And of course, in that case, it's also very important because, as you said, with adults, they need to treat themselves at home. You can't just base everything on physiotherapy. And so giving them the keys to understand what's happening to them, how it's going to evolve, and how they can help themselves outside of physiotherapy is very important.
Florian, what about you? What resources do you use for your patients that you're treating with vestibular dysfunction? How do you send them home with more information?
Okay. To rebound of what François says, in France, we are 90,000 physiotherapists, and in vestibular specialty, we are 500. So this is 0.6% of physiotherapists who knows a little about vestibular physiotherapy and vestibular dizziness or vertigo. So that's very difficult, and I understand what Yanis are talking about, because this is all the day the same discussion about the pathology, and every patient arrive in session of physio with the same discussion that I'm here, but I don't know what I have, and I need more information because, like say Yanis, I check on Google, and maybe I have sclerosis en plaques, SEP, or something like this, a tumor. But first of all, we have to explain what is pathology, because maybe doctor doesn't take the time to explain a little. So I make some diagram, take the time to discuss, to talk about this, and what are the problems disturb in their activity. And after we make a great evaluation to find what is really the great problem for them. This is vestibular, this is ocular, this is postural, maybe cervical, this is maybe it's psychologic. So we take the time at the first moment to discuss, and after that, this is really to make movement, to explain them that it's difficult, but they have to make the first step. Go in an environment where who they feel in safety, and to work with someone, but not take the arms. So really take the time to feel their sensation. But the secret is to exchange about their problem and to explain they will grow up and live with some adaptation, maybe not like before, differently, but they will arrive.
So educating the patient and setting those expectations to see how they might feel moving forward from there, and preparing the patient to give them the best outcomes possible. That's really, really important. We need more people like you.
Thank you.
So, just from a general standpoint, what do you think is the most urgent need in your country for vestibular advocacy? What do you guys feel is the top priority at this point in time? Anybody can jump in.
Well, I would say that there is different aspects to answer your question. The first is to sensibilize the patients, of course. That's the first point, because we have to be very clear that what they feel is a real pathology. Most of them, especially the elderly people, they believe that this is just everything move, or they are in vestibular instability, and they believe this may be the symptoms of aging. But now we know that's not. These are not the symptom of the normal symptom of aging. This is clear pathology. So they have to figure out that is a disease, and they have to consult their doctor and try to enter the pathway to be in situation to be helped in this pathology. So we need, and especially during this week, it will be one of our main goals to try to reach everybody in the country and to say, okay, vestibular disease, vestibular pathology is really something. So you have to move and to see doctors. The other people we would like to sensibilize is the family, and I would say the working circle, because one of the complaint of the patients is that usually it's difficult for the family and of the friends at work to figure out and to understand what the patient feels. And most of the time, the patients say that people say they catastrophize their state, and okay, they don't bleed, nothing is broken, and so it's difficult to see what's going on, and so it's difficult for the patient also to explain that to the family and the working colleagues. So this is again one of the goals for us, to try to make aware these people, to say, okay, this vestibular disorders are real pathologies. This may be very, very important and very difficult for the patients. So you have to be aware of what it is, and this is one of our goals. And I'll just add another third point. We would like something else. We would like to touch and to sensibilize with our decision makers, I would say, and funding promoters, because we need money for the research, for the scientific and clinical research. Up to now, for example, in France, but I know that's about similar in different countries, the ministries are not really aware of what is vestibular pathology, so they are not very prompt to give money for the projects. It's more easy for them to understand what is the hearing pathologies, but vestibular pathologies is something that still have to be explained and explained again in order for us to raise money and to be able to make understand that the solution exists, but we need support to move. We need support to first to understand the causes of the pathology, because as François said, the etiology most of the time is not well known. Also, we need to improve the diagnosis to allow better discrimination between different pathologies and between in the different states of the stage of the pathology. Also to develop new candidate drugs. You know that on the markets the drug anti-vertigo drugs are not very specific and very active. So we would like to improve these drugs, and also to allow development or more specific medical devices and protocols to be able to improve the management of the vestibular patients.
And it sounds like a lot of that starts with making this a more visible diagnosis. Making vestibular visible is one of our taglines, because truly you can have somebody completely debilitated by vestibular dysfunction, and you can look at them and say, well, you look fine. You know, what's the matter with you? You're young, you're healthy, everything's good. Like, you couldn't possibly be suffering that much. And a lot of people don't understand until they actually go through it. And I'd love to bring in Kathleen Strauss at this point, our past president over at VITA. If anybody knows how to make vestibular visible, it is this woman right here. So thank you for joining us too, Kathleen. It's great to have you on our talk as well.
Absolutely. Thank you for having me. It's an honor and a privilege to join this group of global vestibuloholics. No, I think the things you guys are talking about is really important, and it obviously is a worldwide problem that we're all experiencing at the same time. I sort of think of it as a triad of things that need to happen to improve vestibular care across the world. One is the medical and scientific pursuits. You speak about that the science needs to be there. The medical professionals need to create and understand the diagnosis and create pathways. The public needs to be aware of what vestibular disorders are and what they're not. And then we need to advocate for our patients once they are aware so that they can get the best care in the quickest time. So as I listen to you all, I just applaud your joining with VIDA to move together as we are on these three things, which really are require a global effort.
What I think is amazing is all this has kind of stemmed from our Balance Awareness Week from last year. I mean, Yanis, you got hit with your dysfunction during our Balance Awareness Week that we had last year, and it sounds like the efforts that we've been doing to try to help make people more aware of what people experience through our Life Rebalance Chronicles really struck a chord with you. So that makes us feel pretty great at what steps we're taking to try to raise awareness and get more advocacy out there for patients with vestibular dysfunction. What steps have you guys started to take in order to make vestibular more visible? What have you been doing in order to address this issue of trying to get more people aware of everything?
I'd like to say that I'm really glad myself to be part of it. I'm a VIDA ambassador myself. I'm one of the two people in Europe which are a VIDA ambassador. I think the other one is in Netherlands. So we are two in Europe, and I hope that we will be more in the next months or years. So yeah, for raising awareness for the vestibular disorder and the vestibular patients. So as you said, we started ADEV, and we have actually a website which is linked with the VIDA, and also that makes sense to me to reach Cynthia and start the association with VIDA and with you guys, because my point is I wanted to start something and to start and grow as fast as I could and as we could. So reaching VIDA was just the easiest way to reach many people and to start, let's say, bigger than we could. Because if we started just a small group, an association in France, it would took us maybe like years to reach the VIDA aura and the worldwide, the worldwide part of VIDA, and just to be known. And so here it's just like few months after we started, and we already have a website, we have a Facebook page, we can be involved in this kind of event, and so, which is really, really great. And I never expect, I said that many times to Cynthia Ryan, that I could start something as quick and just realize it was something crazy for me. We already have the people sending back feedback to us, just saying thank you because they needed it, and it really is really nice. Even more when you are yourself a vestibular patient, and when you just accomplish this kind of thing and you just helping other people, it's also, it can be like how to say, it can be therapeutic for yourself. It's just like you feel better helping people, even if your symptoms are the same and you're just dealing with the condition in your everyday. You're just feeling better because you are like doing something good, and that's nice that you can share information about it. And it would have saved myself a lot of time. Like I was lost for 2 years, and it was probably the worst years in my life, and that was just something crazy. One of the worst thing I had to deal with in my whole life. And yeah, if this was, I mean, if it already existed when it all started for me, I would be glad that I found just clicking on the internet this kind of resource, and just to know, even if you, I mean, you wouldn't accept a diagnosis when it says there is no cure and you are in this condition for maybe the rest of your life. It's really complicated in any case, but just to have the information that you can live with it, control it, because I thought my life was over. That was the first thing. And yeah, I have the occasion just to share it with people, and so yeah, we started it, and I hope we will do it for many years, and we will help as much people as we can.
That's great. You're touching on the importance of the human experience, and your experience, as everyone's, regardless of where they are in the world, is one of all of those emotions you felt. And we know, and you'll get to know as the years go by, what a real life saver your advocacy and your organization will be for people. And I don't say that lightly, because people's lives are saved when they feel heard and they feel seen. And people, perhaps you as well, have felt very, very desperate, and they question what happens tomorrow. So it is the work of these organizations goes well beyond getting people to the right doctor or to the right therapist or with the right medicine. We're talking about saving the life and the soul of someone in a very, very dark and desperate place. So that's great.
No, that's really true. When I saw for the first time the Life Rebalance Chronicle, so I starting with episode 1.
Yes.
And yeah, that was crazy. And I also see what Johan, the Chapiness guy, did. And you know, when you're like living it, and he was speaking about my whole day, my day-to-day, just dealing with derealization and this kind of stuff. And you know, like when there is someone else speaking about it, and you know, this is true. I mean, it was true for you, but when you have no resources, no information, you're just thinking you're just turning crazy. And because there is no link for many people, there is no link in between vertigo or like unbalanced and also the, let's say, psychiatric part of the other symptoms you can have. And yeah, when you have people just saying, okay, this is what's happening to me, and it was cause of my imbalance or my vertigo problem, then you can just link the whole thing together, and that makes sense for you. And then you're just knowing that you're not turning crazy, you're just suffering for a disease, and there is other people on Earth that were dealing with the same. And yeah, it's just life-saving and life-changing for me. It really helped me a lot, and that's why I take my phone to call Christian, and the whole thing happened afterward.
Well, the amazing thing about making that phone call is you've set this thing into motion of bringing together not only a great resource for people suffering from vestibular dysfunction, but also starting the momentum to bring together other professionals, clinicians, doctors, physiotherapists, to all start to work together to create this better network. And not only is it about creating patient resources, but it's also about raising awareness among doctors to get better diagnosis times and make them more aware that this is an actual issue. I mean, even here in the US, we still have doctors that tell patients, you need to go see a psychiatrist because this is all in your head, or you're crazy, or this is a normal part of aging. I've had conversations with physicians that don't believe vestibular dysfunction is truly real, which just floors me. And, you know, I think the more resources that you provide, the more it's going to be harder for people to deny that. And you give other people within the entire community on both the patient side and the medical side resources to better help everyone. So not only are you helping others by raising awareness and making vestibular more visible for the patient resources, but also look at the people that you brought on this call with you, right? We've got Florian, he's a physiotherapist. We've got a researcher. We've got an ENT. You know, you are really starting to create something amazing. And we're really hopeful that you are also the inspiration for other people in other countries to create something similar as well. Do you have any recommendations for anybody, anybody on this call, any recommendations for other groups to collaborate or for people to kind of jump on board and do the same thing? Where can they start? They can always start with a call to Vita. We'll start there. But Florian, what about you? Do you have any recommendations for physiotherapists looking to maybe start something, or for a good place for them to start looking to get additional training?
Yeah, thank you, Yanis. It was a very good speaking. And I want to remind Jan, each time we say this is in your head, but clearly this is in your head. But like say great scientist, a French great scientist, this is simplex. This is simple, but it's very complex. And this is in your brain, but not in the term this is a tumor or something, but different connection will make an imbalance. And this is clearly a task for us, a physiotherapist, to make the idea the more clear possible. In the term of we have to take the time to exchange with the patient of the symptoms and the issue. I'm a member of a learned society. This is a francophone society of vestibular physiotherapists. And in our society, this is our primary objective to update our knowledge with different exchange, US exchange, Australia exchange. But maybe we have some work to make with Dave and different patients to make a connection, a link, maybe.
Whoops, I lost you there a little bit.
We got a lot of technical difficulties.
Maybe he'll come back in, but I think the idea of connecting professionals and sharing information is so important. I was thinking as I was listening that Vita has been around for 30 years. And I don't know if our public understanding of vestibular disorders is ahead of where you are. But if it is, I would say that it took us a long time to understand that the psychological and emotional components, the anxiety, fear, depression that vestibular patients feel is secondary to their vestibular problem and not a primary problem that requires psychiatrists immediately and dismissal of their vestibular problem. But I hope that our experience and our history can help you all progress through this understanding faster, and that we can together bring all the professionals worldwide to the same acknowledgement of the psychological and emotional challenges that go with this invisible illness. Years ago, it was true that patients were sent to, and I guess Danielle, you confirmed it still happens today. It does. But the vestibular community was sort of like, is it psychiatric or is it vestibular? Today, we're saying yes to both of those things, recognizing that a vestibular patient may need cognitive behavioral therapy or supportive psychological counseling or mindfulness training. These things are going hand in hand with vestibular rehabilitation, and I think that's huge progress. And I hope that all those countries that are developing vestibular rehab protocols will quickly get to the point that they address not only the neurological needs of their patients, but the supportive and emotional needs as well. You were saying, Florian, you were talking about connections with professionals. Sorry, we lost you, but come back to that. I was just echoing that is a great hope for us.
Yeah, I was talking about the link between maybe ADEV and our society. We have to take more time and make some maybe congress to exchange, but it's difficult to organize. So maybe this type of format, like webinar, social network like this, it may be a solution, but the difficulty for our practice, it's the way of our profession. Like I was talking, we are very few, and we have to make more connection with maybe a university school or another order like medical order in France. And in short term, maybe we will be able to interact with director of physiotherapy school for students can have more knowledge about vestibular, and why not the different profession like audiologist, general practitioner, because it is very difficult to have the good diagnostic. A lot of people come here with a prescription about vertigo, but no exam was made. So maybe we have to touch in first case the medical and after patient.
Mm-hmm.
Now, Francois, do you see in the medical community among physicians that there is the willingness to connect more on vestibular dysfunction and be open to additional training and whatnot?
Yeah, definitely. I think, especially from a medical standpoint, the key is really education, and this goes through traditional medical education from university, but it also comes from these type of communities where medical professions can interact with physiotherapists, can interact with researchers, and can interact with patients, because there is a lack of communication in all directions, I would say, with the patients. As we said, the patient expresses sometimes needs which aren't traditionally what the doctor thinks the patient needs. And so we spend a lot of time also talking with doctors about the importance of psychological evaluation and take into account all these difficulties, and not just focus on, oh, what type of pill can I give this patient so that he'll leave my consultation happy, which is sometimes a reflex doctors who don't have the knowledge of vestibular disease can have. Then there's also interaction with research, because it's complicated. I mean, I've done a PhD, and I think loads of things I don't understand about the vestibular organs, and so people who haven't had such an education on the organ, I find it's normal that they don't understand it. And discussing with researchers is a way to keep up to date, is a way to revisit the diseases. I mean, just to take an example on Meniere's disease, if we think of the understanding now and the understanding 30 years ago, if someone is basing their current practice on what they learned 30 years ago, then of course it's going to be completely off the mark. And then, especially with physiotherapists, I don't know how this is in the US, but in France, we have really separate ways. I mean, apart from people who do interact with physiotherapists, most doctors will just write a prescription and say, okay, you have vertigo, go and see the physiotherapist. I don't really have a clue what that person is going to do to you, but just go over there and I'll help you get better. And there isn't really any understanding or interaction between all these people who have to interact to give a sort of a global treatment of the patient. So I'd say there's clearly education from a purely medical standpoint is for the moment insufficient in France. There aren't enough doctors who know about the vestibular organs, but there's also a key role of communities such as VIDA or the GDR Vertige, which brings together all these different actors.
I think that's very well said, Francois. The first hope is that as we educate clinicians, they're aware of the holistic need of the patient, that the best care requires multiple disciplines, as you mentioned. And even if one practitioner doesn't know what the others will do, at least they're referring to them. And that's the first hope. And then I think the long-term goal is the integration of a multidisciplinary team that actually does know what each other is doing. So, it is positive, not negative. It's positive that a doctor would say, go to the physical therapist. I don't know what they're going to do, but they will help you. Because if that is true, that helps the patient. There are times when I wish the doctor wouldn't tell the patient everything I was going to do because they weren't accurate. And what if the patient really didn't have BPPV and they came into me and they had an expectation? So sometimes you don't want people to set an expectation that may not be accurate. So I think you've hit it correctly, that the first thing is know that there are multiple disciplines that create the holistic team approach, that it requires a holistic approach, a multidisciplinary approach. And then even here, we're working towards building and promoting multidisciplinary systems. But today, those multidisciplinary systems still are confined to the universities and the hospitals associated with medical schools. So even in a country as large as ours, we can count on two hands how many real multidisciplinary programs there are. So the truth is, everyone doesn't have access to that. They don't, and they won't for a long time. But the practitioner that says, we need an audiologist, and we need a physiotherapist, and we need an MD, and we need maybe a psychological support or social work. That's the first step.
Yeah. I wanted to say, you made a really good point when you say, I'm no doctor, and I really respect them for what they do. They are saving life on a daily basis, and that's true. But you were just saying something where a doctor would say, like, I don't know, and it can happen, and that's a really big point for the patient side, let's say, because there is this, let's say, guru doctor things, which is like, I know what you have and I will treat you. But it will be maybe better if we educate, doctors, just to say, okay, I don't really know what you have, and maybe we need to perform some more tests and just explain to the patient that at that time we don't have everything and we don't know everything about it, but we can just start and try something, and not to say and to use the word that I know what you have and just take the magic pill. And we have also to educate the patient to understand that there is maybe no magic pill, or maybe it will be just a test, try and fail things, and just keep trying things, and just understand that there is no such a thing as just cure or just magic pill for this kind of disease.
I think there was another theme that Francois brought up and kind of touched on, is that, healthcare coverage and systems differ from country to country. And although VIDA reaches patients worldwide, we've, hit some brick walls with helping people in terms of making recommendations and how to navigate their healthcare systems with vestibular dysfunction, because everyone's healthcare system is a little bit different. So I think having organizations like ADEV is really, really important, because you guys will be able to help patients in your country understand how to navigate your healthcare system and the school of thought of your physicians and your physiotherapists. So I think that this is a huge need. And I'm calling out to anybody else in other countries who are watching this, that if there is any sort of spark or inclination for you to help get another resource like this started for your country, please do it, because you guys are taking over some of the information that we're unable to provide. And we recognize that. And we're internally grateful for you for taking on this obstacle to help people in your country.
Yeah, sure.
I know. Go ahead. Go ahead, Christian.
Just to follow what François said on the researcher point of view, fully agree that we need more connection between professionals and more education. And I just wanted to mention what we are currently doing in the GDR Vertige level. So first, we supported the inception of the patient association, Yanis ADEV association, and every year we're also organizing an annual meeting with that gathering many vertigo professionals, educators, ENT, neurologists. It's once a year, and on every year we choose a different topic. So this year there would be this annual meeting will close this Balance Awareness Week. It will be on the next weekend, on the 23 and 24 in Marseille, and the topic will be on motion sickness this year. And we had a lot of professionals that wanted to join us, and we have no room enough to welcome everybody, but still we're gonna do our best for that. And and of course, after the just before the meeting, we started this year on the link with the VIDA to start in France the Balance Awareness Week, the Semaine de l'équilibre du vertige. And I just wanted to mention that there is 120 different sites that agreed to make some noise on this problem in France and to participate to this event. And through different activities, open days at the ENT department of the main French University Hospital services, with entertainment around the psychomotor testing for children,
Yes.
activities on center on balance, and also information for parents. That's very, very important. But also the other aspect of meetings between patients and clinicians, and also participation like we do today on online events or radio shows. And also, of course, we promoted the diffusion of the ADEV flyer to patients through the different professionals who are involved in this event. And I'm very happy because the Yanis and us, we started to we wanted to develop a teaser video to push people to join us. And I guess, Yanis, today we started to reach the 900 times view of this video. So it's very, very interesting because and especially because we reached mostly professional people involved in the management of passion. So we are very happy with that. So it works.
It works. And I know I speak for Danielle and myself and any of those that any way we can help you, we want to help you. We have made videos, we have created reels or flyers to teach people what their vestibular system is in a very simple way. And so in Balance Awareness Week, clinics and clinicians are trying to teach the public how to appreciate their vestibular system with something as simple as, look at this like this, and then look at it like this. And the difference between those two is because of your inner ear. And those with vestibular problems and a broken vestibulo-ocular reflex see the world differently. There's all sorts of little ways to just teach people in 10 or less seconds, 10 seconds or fewer, how to appreciate what's going on inside here. And so we, if our practice can help you, we want to give you ideas and encourage you with ways to launch your Balance Awareness Week, because people want to know, what does this system mean to me and how do I appreciate that I have one? Because we all are guilty of taking it for granted. So, I mean, with that, I certainly am excited about this collaboration. Although I have stepped away from the board of directors now of VITA and let Danielle continue, I serve on the Medical and Scientific Advisory Committee. And I know that we are here also to help you in any way that we can, whether it be coordinating educational webinars, anything I can do to help or any of us can do to help, we want to do that. We might need help with translation of materials or of comments, but we're excited to see you all put forth your private time to volunteer for this very worthwhile population of people.
Thank you.
We're so thankful.
Thank you, Caitlin.
Thank you very much.
And you already helped us a lot. I mean, I'm speaking on behalf of ADEV, and with Cynthia Ryan, we are like collaborating for a few months now, and she already helped me a lot. So we are working on video. So we will start with the first step. So one of our first video will be what is vestibular, because a lot of people here in France don't know what is vestibulaire, so the word in French.
Right.
And then we will just continue to have like short videos just to educate people, and also using social network and everything we can to raise awareness for patient advocacy.
Well,
I'm very impressed. I'm very impressed with what you've done on social media so far. I follow you on Instagram, and so I love seeing the work you've done so far. Very, very good job.
Yeah. We have to thank the ADEF team, because I'm not doing it by myself. So I'd like to say hey to them today and thank you, because I have met these amazing people. Most of them I never met them in person by now, because some of them are in France, but there is also people in other parts of Europe. So it's French-speaking countries. So I have part of my team which is in Switzerland. Some other in Belgium, and I think it's really important to say there is not only France involved. So there is also French-speaking country, and there is also French-speaking country, everywhere. Some are in Africa, and some other part of the world. And this is really important, because the information we share will reach people even abroad and even in other part of the world. So that's really nice.
Well, and even in North America, we have Canada with many people.
There is Canada also.
So it is. I was very clear about that in my mind, that this was an outreach to French speakers all over the world. Certainly not just for France, but thank you for reminding us of that. That's correct. Every continent has French-speaking nations on it.
When we'll be sure to link all of the resources that we had mentioned throughout our talk today, including all the links at ADEV. And, Yanis, I'm hoping that this Balance Awareness Week this year, maybe you were the one to inspire somebody else somewhere to also create a nonprofit organization dedicated to helping those with vestibular dysfunction. So thank you to each and every one of you who joined us today. We really look forward to all of the excellent work that you guys are going to do in the future. We really appreciate it.
Thank you
very much for this effort.
Any final comments from each person? Let's go around.
I just like to have a small French talk just to people and to patients, because I think it's really important. It's the French connection. I think we should have a little bit of French in this live stream. Du coup, bonjour à tous. Je voudrais simplement vous dire quelques mots pour ceux qui ont pu nous suivre, qui comprennent l'anglais. Je voudrais simplement vous parler d'ADEV et vous dire que je suis moi-même un patient vestibulaire comme vous, parce que j'imagine que si vous suivez ou regardez ce genre d'événement, c'est que vous êtes concerné ou qu'un membre de votre famille est concerné. Moi, ce qui m'est arrivé, c'est vraiment un problème qui m'est tombé dessus, et je pense que ça survient chez beaucoup de personnes comme ça, de manière assez aléatoire. Ce que je voudrais vous transmettre à travers ADEV et le pourquoi de mon action, c'est que en fait, ces pathologies existent et que des solutions existent. Ça ne sera pas forcément les solutions que vous voudriez avoir, et je ne pourrai jamais vous promettre une cure et que tout sera comme avant. Cependant, ce qu'on m'a transmis et ce que j'ai eu la chance de pouvoir avoir avec les personnes que j'ai rencontrées, c'est que c'est des choses qui se contrôlent et qu'on peut vivre avec, et qu'on peut avoir une vie pleine avec ça. Et du coup, voilà, c'est simplement un message d'espoir, et le fait qu'il faut continuer simplement à s'accrocher et continuer à avancer, aider les médecins, aider les scientifiques pour que les choses avancent. Peut-être que ça ne sera pas nous-mêmes, mais pour les générations qui viennent, peut-être qu'on arrivera à des soins qui seront assez performants pour que ces pathologies ne soient qu'un mauvais souvenir. Voilà. If you want, I can do the translation of it, or just I was just saying about, it was a message of hope for people, just to explain that you can control it, you can live with it, and we won't maybe on our lifetime have the solution and fix people, but maybe for the next generation and for your children and maybe for your relative, or maybe for random people. I don't know, just we can save life, and maybe it's the start point. So
Well
that was my.
Thank you. Anyone else? Closing remarks in English or French? I know that this is a great opportunity for you to have this panel. Anything you want to say, you can speak to your constituents.
I just want to, sorry, very quickly, I think that education is really the key. And as I really fond of what you were talking about the very short videos, because before we talk about explaining the physiopathology of Meniere disease or whatever, the key idea is to understand what the vestibular organ is and what the vestibular system is. And even amongst doctors, it's sometimes unclear that the vestibular organs are anything more than a balance center. And so I'd be very happy to see those short videos.
Sure.
I just wanted
Christian, you were going to say? Mm-hmm.
Just wanted to end with this call by just remaining that exchanging between professionals of different countries is very nice, and it's necessary to allow improving the way we are managing the patient complaint. That's very important, and especially we do that already between the researchers, but it's something we should promote for the re-educators and ENTs, because we need to push together to find solutions.
So Florian, close us out here. Any final words?
I will begin in French. Je voulais rebondir sur ce qu'il disait Yanis. C'est vrai que c'est très important d'essayer de créer un lien aussi avec son thérapeute, et je pense qu'il ne faut pas hésiter en tant que patient à demander des explications, même si pour nous, souvent on est pris par le temps parce qu'on a beaucoup d'échéances et beaucoup de listes d'attente. Il est important de vous sentir écouté, et puis d'avoir quelques réponses à vos questions, même si on ne peut pas toujours tout répondre, au moins d'essayer de mettre des mots sur votre problématique. Et voilà, essayez de prendre le temps de poser vos questions, et on essaiera de prendre le temps pour y répondre tous ensemble. What I was speaking in French, it's important to ask the question to your physiotherapist, because we are here for that. And maybe it's difficult for us because we have time and we have a lot of patients who are waiting. But it's important if it makes angoisse and worry, to take the time to ask your question, and your physiotherapist and you will make the better together.
Well put.
I believe this is the first of many conversations that we will have, and these relationships that we form today are important, and they will set the tone for us to realize what we want to happen, which is continued communication, conversation, and collaboration to help this dizzy world feel good again. So that's all I have. Close us out, Danielle. And again, thank you all for being here from my heart.
Thank you again. And I think the last thing that we have to say is Happy Balance Awareness Week. We hope to talk to you guys again soon.
Take care. Bye-bye.
Bye bye.
Goodbye.
Merci Daniel et Kathleen.
See ya.
Au revoir.
Merci. Au revoir.